Welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to learn how to solve quadratic equation. Consider this equation x square plus 4x equals 5. So how to solve this equation? So when we solve an equation, we're trying to find the values of x for which the right hand side and left hand side of the equation are the same. There are many ways you can use to solve the quadratic equation. They are factorization, or you can use the completing the square method, or we can use the quadratic formula. In this video, we're going to focus how to use factorization to solve a quadratic equation. Okay. The first step in solving by factorization is to write the equation in the form of ax square plus bx plus c equals 0. So this is a standard form we should aim for. Okay, so this equation needs to be written in this format, so which is when you subtract 5 from both sides, so the equation becomes x square plus 4x minus 5 equals 5 minus 5 on the other side equals 0. Okay, first step is done. What is the next step? Factorize the quadratic expression. Factorize this one. So for factorization, you can use any method that suits the situation. There are many ways to factorize a quadratic expression. If you can find a common factor, you can use that, which is not the case in here. Difference of two squares doesn't work in here. Perfect squares, no, this is not a perfect square. 5 is not a perfect square. This is a monoquadratic. So this is a monoquadratic, a quadratic with a coefficient 1 in here, okay, for the highest power. Okay, so that's a monoquadratic. The two methods we learned how to factorize a generic monoquadratic, and we're going to use one of the method in here. So that one is find two numbers, then multiply to give minus 5, that's this number, and they add to give this coefficient of x, 4. Okay, so what are those numbers? Okay, so with a little bit of trial and error, you can see that those numbers are minus 1 and 5. They multiply to give minus 5 and they add to give 4. So now you can factorize using these two numbers. So that's x minus 1 times x plus 5 are the factors of this quadratic expression, and that equals 0. So we have written the equation in the standard form, factorize the quadratic expression. What's the next thing? If m times n equals 0, then we can say m equals 0 or n equals 0 or both are 0. Yes, this is null factor law. We're going to use the null factor law to solve for x. So this is m, this is n. So x minus 1 equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. And this gives, you can subtract 1 from both sides, and then that gives x equals 1. That's one of the solutions for this equation. Okay, and then using this equation, x equals minus 5 by subtracting 5 from both sides. Okay, now we got two solutions. That's what we expect for a quadratic equation. So, and we can substitute this in here to see if this makes sense. So for example, if you substitute 1, this is 1 square is 1 plus 4 times 1 is 4, and this is equal to 5. So the left and right are same. And if you substitute minus 5, this is minus 5 square, which is 25, and 4 times minus 5 is minus 20, and that is exactly 5. So these solutions are making sense. Let's now solve another quadratic, 2x square minus 6x minus 20 equals 0. Let's now begin with the same strategy as we applied in the previous example. Write the equation in the form ax square plus bx plus c equals 0. It's already in that form, so we've done the step 1. The second step is factorize this one. Okay, for factorizing, we've seen many different techniques depending on the situation we are in. So this is not a common factor. Difference of two squares doesn't work here. Perfect squares, no, this is not a perfect square. And monoquadratic, no, it is not, because the coefficient of x square is 2. So this is a non-monoquadratic. The two methods that we learned to factorize a non-monoquadratic, and we can use the cross method in here. So that's when you write 2x square and the constant term minus 20 and then minus 6x in this order. And then what we're going to do is factorize 2x square. So the common factors that we use is 2x and x. If that doesn't work, maybe you can use minus 2x and minus x, but usually this works. And minus 20, there are many different factors. So 10 and minus 2 and 2 and minus 10 and 5 and minus 4, many different factors. Let's try with one of them. Okay, let's first try 10 and minus 2. We can do the cross multiplication. 2x times minus 2 is minus 4x and x times 10 is 10x. Now we add these two. That's 10x minus 4x is 6x, which is not equals minus 6x. Okay, so when we cross multiply and add them together, we should get this minus 6x. Then the combination is the perfect one. So this doesn't work. So let's now try minus 10 and 2. Okay, 2x times 2 is 4x and x times minus 10 is minus 10x. Then they add minus 10x plus 4x is 6x, minus 6x. Okay, so that's perfect. So this is the right combination for minus 20. So the factors of this quadratic expression is 2x minus 10 times x plus 2 equals 0. Now we're going to use the null factor as we did previously. M times n equals 0. So that means m can be 0, 2x minus 10 can be 0, or x plus 2 can be equal to 0. And this gives, you can rearrange these terms. You first add 10 on both sides, so which gives 2x equals 10, and then you divide 2 on both sides, which gives x equals 10 on 2, which is 5. Okay, and this is simple, so just subtract 2 on both sides, which is x equals minus 2. So the solution for this equation, 2x squared minus 6x minus 20 equals 0, is x equals 5 and x equals minus 2. And if you substitute x equals 5 in here, you should get it 0, and x equals minus 2 also should give you 0. Usually for quadratic equations, we get two solutions. If they're real solution, they are the x-intercept. So the parabola is a shape for a quadratic function. So if they have real solution, they'll be cutting the x-axis like this. Okay. So these are the solutions that we get when y equals 0. What are the x values, x-intercepts? So if both solutions are same, this will be touching the x-axis only once, so something like that. So that means it has only one x-intercept, and though both solutions are same. In some cases, there are no real solutions. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have any solution. They have complex solutions, but it doesn't have any real solution. In that cases are when the graph is going something like that, or if it's going something like that. So these cases, there's no real solution as they are not intersecting on the x-axis. Okay, I hope this makes sense to you. So in general, to solve a quadratic equation by factorization, we write the equation in the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and then we factorize the quadratic expression and then use the null factor law to solve it. In the next few videos, we'll be seeing other methods to solve the quadratic equation by using the completing the square or the quadratic formula. Okay, stay tuned.